Hello guys, welcome once more to another video again. So in today's video we are going to be looking at the Cameroon GCE June 2017 question 2 paper 2 ordinary level additional mathematics. Okay, so please I recommend that you like the video and subscribe to my YouTube channel if you have not yet subscribed to it, so that whenever I upload a new video you will be the first person to see the video. Okay, so without wasting much of our time, let's get started. Okay guys, so the question is going to be displayed to you and we are going to be tackling the solution step by step. Okay, so the question is coming from the topic polynomials. Okay, so let's get started. Okay, given that f of x equals to ax cubed plus bx squared minus 6x plus 8 leaves a remainder of 10 when divided by x plus 1, and that x minus 1 is a factor of f of x, where a and b are constant. So the a part says find the values of a and b, and with these values of a and b, b part says factorize f of x completely. Okay, so we took just the first part of the equation. Okay, so in polynomials, question under polynomials, this is how the equations are normally set. Okay, this is the format. They will always ask you that you should look for the values of a and b, and using the values of a and b, they can ask you that factorize f of x completely, or they can also ask that solve the equation f of x equals to 0. Okay, so it is important for you to just grab the procedure used to solve questions of this nature. Okay, so before we begin solving the solution, so I would like us that we should I would like that we should revise some theorems. Okay, so so we are going to look at two theorems. Okay, so we will be looking at the remainder theorem and the factor theorem. Why? According to the equation, now given that f of x equals to ax cubed plus bx squared minus 6x plus 8 leaves a remainder, so it means we are going to apply the remainder theorem here. Okay, when divided by x plus 1, and that x minus 1 is a factor of, so it means we are going to look at the factor theorem too. Okay, so the remainder theorem states that when the polynomial p of x is divided by x minus m, the remainder is p of m. Okay, yeah, so it means if I let x minus m to be equals to 0, it means x equals to m. Okay, and therefore my p of m will be such that I'm going to substitute m in the place of f of x. Okay, in the place of x in my equation f of x. Okay, so that is it. Now for the factor theorem, the factor theorem states that if the polynomial p of x is divided by x minus n in R, and the remainder is 0, it means x minus n is a factor of p of x. Okay, so it means if I have x minus n equal to 0, and then I decide to look for x, my x will just be equals to n, and then if I substitute n in if I substitute n in my f of x, it means where I see x I put n there, so it means my remainder will be 0, and if that remainder is 0, it therefore means that we are actually talking about the factor theorem. Okay, so now we can actually dive into the solution of the equation. Okay, so now that we have grasped some important thing about the remainder theorem and the factor theorem, so now let's focus in solving the equation. Okay, so now f of x equals to ax cubed plus bx squared minus 6x plus 8 leaves a remainder of 10 when divided by x plus 1. So this simply means that if I say x plus 1 equals to 0, it means that my x is just going to be negative 1. Okay, then now I will solve for f of negative 1. Okay, yeah, and since it leaves a remainder of 10, it therefore means that my f of negative 1 will be equal to 10. Okay, so this is it here. Now what is my f of negative 1? It means I'm going back to my f of x, and then I put f of negative 1, and then I substitute it there. Okay, so at the end of the day, I'm going to have f of negative 1 being equal to a times negative 1 cubed plus b into negative 1 squared minus 6 times negative 1 plus 8. Okay, so that is it. Okay, now so if if I take a cube of negative 1, right, I will have negative 1. It means in general, if you are taking the odd root, or if you are taking the odd power of a negative number, the result will still be negative. Whereas if you are taking the even power of a negative number, the result will be positive. Okay, so if I take the odd root, say cube root, if I cube negative 1, I'll have negative 1, and then if I multiply the negative 1 with my a, I'll have negative a. Okay, now if I square negative 1, I'll have 1, and if I multiply the 1 with my b, I'll have b. Okay, so now in this other case here, now we have negative 1 here and negative 6. So if I take negative 1 times negative 6, I'll have positive 6 and then plus my 8. Okay, so that is it. Now I have negative a plus b plus 6 plus 8. Okay, so yeah, since a and b are actually unknowns, it means I will either add 6 plus 8 and then I cross it. Okay, or I can just cross it like this from here. So it depends on you. Maybe I will cross it. Now let me okay, let me begin with 8 there. Yeah, I can actually begin with 8 or 6, so it depends on you. Or you can just add them. You can just take 6 plus 8 and then you cross it. Okay, I notice that when either the 6 crosses the equality sign, the sign changes. Since here is positive, it means when it crosses this equality sign, it will become negative. Okay, so that is it. Now if I take this 8, if I choose 8 first, right, then I cross it, it will become 10 minus 8. Okay, then I take 6. Now 10 minus 8 is actually 12. 10 minus 8 is 2. And then if I take 6 now, then I cross it again, the 6 here, the sign will reverse to a negative sign. Okay, so it means now I'm left with 2 here. My 2 minus the 6 now will give me negative 4. So at the end of the day, we have negative a plus b being equal to negative 4. Okay, so we can actually call that equation 1. Okay, now notice something here. When you are looking for two unknowns, it means you have two equations, 3 unknowns, 3 equations, 4 unknowns, 4 equations that you can solve them. Okay, so that's my equation 1. Now the question reads, and that x minus 1 is a factor of f of x. Okay, it's a factor of f of x. It means that if I equate x minus 1 equal to 0, my x will be 1. And if I substitute the 1 here, it means if I solve for my f of 1, I'll have 0. Okay, so let's just so similarly, if x minus 1 is a factor, implies that f of 1 equal to 0. So it means f of 1 being equal to 0, but what is my f of 1? My f of 1 means I will substitute 1 where I will find x. Okay, so this is it here. Okay, now 1 cube is actually 1 times a is a, 1 squared is 1 times b is b, and negative 6 times 1 is negative 6, then plus 8. So at the end of the day, I'm going to have a plus b minus 6 plus 8 equal to 0. So if I rearrange things, like if I take negative 6 plus 8, I'll have 2, and then the 2 now, if it crosses the equality sign, since a and b are unknowns, okay, I'll cross the 2. I'll cross the 2 in the other side of the equation. Okay, so at the end of the day, I'll have a plus b being equal to negative 2, and I can call that equation 2. Okay, so now, so this is a simultaneous equation. Okay, it's a simultaneous equation that I can solve it either by graphical method or elimination method or even substitution. Okay, so I'm going to use elimination method because it is actually a little bit easier. Okay, so by looking at the two equations, right, I can actually take equation 1 plus equation 2 to eliminate a, and then I solve for b. Okay, then I substitute the value of b in any of the equation. So let's just look at it. So if I take equation 1 plus 2, implies that my negative a plus b equals negative 4. I'll add the two equations. Okay, so my negative a plus a is actually 0. So in general, negative of a number, say n, plus the positive of that same number will give you 0. Okay, so that is it. Now negative a plus a is actually 0, and b plus b is 2b. Okay, so if I take negative 4 plus minus 2 is negative 6. Okay, now I have 2b being equal to negative 6. Now making b the subject of the formula, I will actually have that my b is equal to negative 3. Okay, so that is it. Now you can actually watch the video on subject of the formula for you to understand how I arrive here. Okay, so now that I have my value of b, I can actually get my value of a by either substituting in equation 1 the value of b in equation 1 or in equation 2. Okay, so in my own case I choose equation 2. So from equation 2, my equation 2 is a plus b equal to negative 2, but I know that my b is negative 3. Okay, so I'll substitute my negative 3 where I find my b. Okay, so at the end of the day I will have a minus 3, then a minus 3 equal to negative 2. Okay, now I'm actually looking for a, so it means I'll cross this 3 in the other side of the equation. So if that happens, I'll have negative 2 plus 3, which is 1. So at the end of the day, my a is just equal to 1. Okay, so that is it. Now you notice that with my values of a and b, it means that my equation f of x will be x cubed minus 3x squared minus 6x plus 8. Why? Because here my a was 1, so 1 times x cubed is just x cubed. Okay, and then my b was negative 3. Okay, means I'll put my negative 3 where my b was. Okay, that is why I have negative 3x squared here, and then minus 6x plus 8. Okay, so that is it. So that is my, these are my values of a and b, 1 and negative 3. Okay, so that is it. Now let's look at the b part of the equation. So the b part says factorize f of x completely. Now factorizing f of x completely, it means that we will be using the factor that is defined in the equation, that where this factor, where the factor is, like if you substitute that factor in f of x, you will have 0. Okay, where the remainder is 0. Okay, so note, when you're asked to factorize f of x completely, use the factor of f of x, that is x minus 1 in our case. Okay, so let's factorize f of x. Okay, so actually x minus 1 was a factor of f of x. Okay, or is a factor of f of x. So since this x minus 1 is a factor, it means this is my f of x. Right now, to do the long division, here we're actually doing the long division here. So this part is very important. Okay, so now doing the long division, right, this is what we do. So I will take the first term here, right? If I take this x cubed, then I will divide it by x. Now x cubed divided by x is just x squared. Okay, now the x will be placed here. Now the x squared now will multiply again with this x to give me x cubed again, and then I multiply that same x squared with negative 1 to have negative x squared. Okay, so that is just the procedure. So you can be using that same procedure for all long division polynomials. Okay, so that is it. So at the end of the day, I'm going to have, now if I do that that division, I'll have this. Okay, so anyways, I will explain better. Let me just okay, so you see that if I take x cubed divided by x, I'll have x squared, and then I take the x squared, now I multiply it again with x, so I'll have x cubed. Okay, and then I'll take this same x squared, and then I multiply it with this negative 1, I'll have negative x squared. Now this minus sign doesn't mean this x, the coefficient here is negative here. No, this minus sign is for me to subtract. So now if I do the subtraction, x cubed minus x cubed is actually 0. Okay, now negative 3x squared minus x squared will give me negative 2x squared. Okay, now these other factors here, I will bring down this negative 6, then I'll bring down this 8. Okay, now again I have to take this negative 2x squared, then I divide it with x. I divide it by x. Okay, now you notice that this x will cancel with one of this x here, So at the end of the day, I'll be left with negative 2x. Now I'll still take the negative 2x again, then I multiply it by this x here. Okay, if I multiply by this x, it will give me negative 2x squared. Okay, then I take the negative 2x again and multiply with this negative 1. So I'll have positive 2x. Then I subtract again. So here I'll have negative 2x minus 2x. So at the end of the day, that will give me 0. That will give me that will give me negative 8x. So this negative 2x squared minus 2x here will give me 0. And then this minus 6 minus 2x will give me negative 8x. Then I'll bring down this 8. Okay, I'll bring down this 8. Now I have this other linear equation here. Okay, this other linear form. Then I will take this negative 8x, then I divide it by x again. If I take negative 8x, then I divide it by x, I'll have negative 8. And then I take the negative 8 now again, then I multiply it by the same x again for me to have negative 8x. Then I take the negative 8 again and multiply it with this negative 1 for me to have positive 8. Okay, then I subtract, and you notice that if I subtract, I'll have 0, 0. So since my remainder is 0, it therefore means that x minus 1 is actually a factor of f of x. Okay, so that is it. Okay, so at the end of the day, my f of x will be, so this is my first factor. My first factor is negative 1. So now I'm to look for the other two factors. Okay, therefore I've factorized f of x completely, but now it is not yet factorized. Now by factorizing x squared minus 2x minus 8, actually I wrote them by factorizing, but I'm going to use the quadratic formula. Yeah, because actually factorization is a little bit easy. You can just look for two factors. If you multiply, will give you AC. So in this case, this is actually my A, this is my B, this is my C. So for factorization, you just look for two factors that if you multiply will give you AC, and if you add will give you B. Okay, so but I'm going to use the quadratic formula. Okay, so my A is negative 1, my A is 1, B is negative 2, and my C is negative 8. So by using the quadratic formula, the formula states that negative B plus or minus square root of B squared minus 4AC divided by 2A. It means my B here is actually negative, and then I square the B here again, and you notice that when squaring or when taking the even power of a negative number, the result will be positive. Okay, and then minus 4AC, but my A is 1 and my C is negative 8. Okay, then divided by 2A, my A is actually 1. Okay, so if I substitute my values, I'll have that x is equal to negative 2 plus or minus square root of negative 2 squared minus 4 times 1 times negative 8, then divided by 2A. Okay, and my A is 1. You notice it, right? Okay, so it will imply that negative times negative is actually positive. That is why we have the positive 2 here, and then plus or minus. Now negative 2 squared is actually 4 here, and then negative 4 times negative 8 is actually 32, and then negative 32, sorry, and then the negative will combine with this other negative to give me positive, then divided by 2, since 1 times 2 is actually 2. Okay, so that is it. At the end of the day, my x will be equal to 2 plus or minus 6 divided by 2. It implies that my x is negative 4 or x is negative 2. And then you notice now that if you were using factorization, you look for the two factors will be negative 4 and 2. Okay, so that is it. And then finally, my f of x will be equal to x minus 1. My three factors are x minus 1, x plus 2, and x minus 4. Okay, so that is it. All right, so this is the end of the video. See you in another video again. Okay, so please don't forget to subscribe to my channel, and don't forget to share and like the video. Okay, see you guys in the next video.